What's up guys, it's Tommy here and welcome to the latest Liverpool news video, and today we will talk about Konate and his contract situation, because Liverpool are increasingly worried that Konate will not extend his contract and he has until January to sign a new contract. Otherwise Liverpool will sell him in January, or will seriously strongly consider selling Konate in January, because Liverpool don't want to end up in a situation where they found themselves in with Trent Alexander, that we could lose a player otherwise worth 50, 60, 70 million pounds for absolutely nothing on a free transfer, and Real Madrid are again trying to screw Liverpool over, telling one of our players to run down his contract and they will sign him on a free transfer. Of course, the ideal circumstance is that Konate and Liverpool come to an agreement over a renewal, but so far there has been no signs that Liverpool are prepared to meet Konate's demands, and the rumor is that Konate wants around £200,000 per week to renew his contract, which is a big raise. But not like a crazy one, because right now Konate is on around £140,000 per week, and Liverpool will only have one more chance to earn money from the sale of Konate, and that is in the January transfer window. And we could sell Konate for maybe 35 million pounds in January. I doubt that many clubs would be willing to pay that amount, because in January, if Konate still hasn't signed a new contract, that basically clubs will pay for only like 6 months of Konate, and then they could have signed him on a free transfer. And I think the only chance is that maybe if Liverpool put him up for sale for like 20 million, then maybe some big clubs like Bayern Munich would seriously consider bidding Konate. The opportunity will come in January, by which time the problem is Konate will be able to talk to all the foreign clubs outside of England free of charge. He can talk to any of them and he can see what kind of free contract agreement they are offering. And of course Real Madrid lead the chase for Konate, hoping to capitalize on his expiring contract. And Real Madrid are looking at a centre-back, because recently they have been linked with Marc Guehi as well, who is also out of contract next summer. And of course Liverpool almost signed him, but in the last seconds Crystal Palace pulled the plug on that transfer. Now a report in Defensa Central, a South American newspaper or Spanish newspaper, claimed that Liverpool will scupper Real Madrid's plans to sign Konate on a free transfer. That's because, according to this newspaper, Liverpool are planning to entertain bids for Konate in the January transfer window as soon as the window opens. This is what the report said. Liverpool are considering selling Konate in the winter transfer window with the aim of getting some money for him. Liverpool are starting to assume that Konate won't renew, and they may be open to parting ways with him mid-season. And this would of course upset Real Madrid's plans, who of course want him, but only on a free transfer next summer. And by the way, Real Madrid, who are one of the richest clubs in the world, they sign so many players on free transfer, it's absolutely crazy. Mbappe and Trent Alexander, they're just the two most prominent ones, but they also signed Rudiger, Alaba on a free transfer. These are the 4 players that just popped into my head, off the top of my head, that I can remember. But with Konate, they could have 5 incredibly good players signed on free transfers. And yes, it's maybe Real Madrid are the only club who can do this. They are at the absolute top of the football food chain, if you like. So what do you think about this? I think this is concerning that Konate still hasn't signed a new contract at Liverpool, and Liverpool seriously need to consider selling him in January. And this would align well with Liverpool signing Marc Guehi for a cut price fee from Crystal Palace, because in theory we could sell Konate for 20-25 million and we could sign Marc Guehi for 20-25 million in January, and actually we would be in a similar situation to what we are right now, that we would let go a very experienced centre-back, but we would also sign in a very experienced centre-back. And you could argue that maybe Marc Guehi doesn't have as many mistakes in him as Konate. He's as physical as Konate, maybe not as fast as Konate, but he's definitely very strong, and positionally he's very well experienced, very good positionally. Of course, the question still remains, what will Konate do with these contract talks? I think Liverpool will offer him a fair contract, but if he wants a crazy high wage, then he can get it at Real Madrid, but not at Liverpool. That's the problem. And maybe Konate would like to play for Real Madrid in the future. Who knows? Some of these foreign players always dream about going to Barcelona or Real Madrid, and that's fair enough. They are, like, two of the biggest clubs in the world. Liverpool are also one of the top 5 biggest clubs in the world, but maybe a tier below Real Madrid and Barcelona still, in many foreign players' eyes. For English players or British players, I think Liverpool right now are the most attractive club. Konate might dream about playing for Real Madrid one day, who knows. And now Fabrizio Romano's recent update made a lot of Liverpool fans made them think, because he talked about Liverpool's last activities in the transfer window, and he said on his Here We Go podcast that on Joe Gomez, I think it had been an interesting deadline day, because yes, AC Milan were ready to go for Joe Gomez, but then in the early morning they understood that the Guehi deal was going to be dangerous until the very end, and they couldn't wait until 6 p.m. or 7 or 8 p.m. to get the deal done. But Gomez was close to joining Brighton. There was a strong possibility for him to go to Brighton, from what I understand. There were some problems in the deal, which is why it collapsed, especially regarding the coverage of his salary. But the Gomez was a target in the final 24 hours of the window. Perhaps for Liverpool it was better like this, also because the Guehi deal collapsed in the final seconds of the window. So they can now complete their centre-back lineup, and it would have been dangerous had Liverpool sanctioned the move for Gomez to transfer to Brighton on loan or to AC Milan permanently. Because imagine if Liverpool thinks all day we are going to sign Marc, because Crystal Palace agreed to the deal at first and then they pulled the club at the last second. Imagine if Liverpool let Gomez go and then Crystal Palace screw Liverpool over, and Liverpool would have been left with just Leone, Konate and Van Dijk. That would have been really short at centre-back. So I'm actually happy that Gomez stayed until January, and we can figure out what to do in January. I think we will sign Marc, that's almost nailed on, guaranteed. It depends on what happens with Konate's contract, whether we sell him or not. But Gomez is 28 years old. His injury record and him being 3rd or 4th choice means that he will most likely leave Liverpool in January or next summer. And also another interesting story coming out from after the transfer window. And I love this the first week after the transfer window is always interesting, because we find out more and more stories about what happened during the transfer window and what happened in the last days of the transfer window. And Florian Plettenberg has said that the news that FC Bayern Munich were seriously considering signing Cody Gakpo before they eventually went for Luis Diaz, that has been confirmed now from the man himself, Cody Gakpo, because this is what he said. As far as I know, FC Bayern actually made an attempt to sign me. In the end though, Bayern decided to go for Luis Diaz. There were several phone calls. FC Bayern, with their sporting director Max Eberl, who is a big fan of Gakpo, they gathered all the information they could on Gakpo, and they also spoke to Gakpo about the possibility of getting him from Liverpool. Gakpo wasn't desperate to leave. It all depends on the club itself as well, because if Liverpool said to Gakpo, you can go to Bayern Munich, we will just keep Luis Diaz, then Gakpo might have thought it's better for me to move to Bayern Munich, because Bayern are also a very attractive club. They are almost nailed on to win the Bundesliga every year, and they also play in the Champions League every season, and they have a chance to win the Champions League usually, even though in the last few years they have not been real contenders. But I think Liverpool made the right decision to sell Luis Diaz, because Luis Diaz is, I think, 2 years older than Cody Gakpo, and Luis Diaz scored a goal and an assist every 133 minutes, or maybe a goal every 133 minutes last season, and Cody Gakpo scored every 107 minutes. And Cody Gakpo is the better player, I think, just slightly better, and also he is 2 years younger. And the fact that after the transfer window closed, Cody Gakpo signed a new contract at Liverpool, that strengthens Liverpool's position in the future. So if any club comes in for Gakpo, we can ask for pretty crazy money for him. So I think eventually everything worked out well for Liverpool. We signed Isak and Florian Wirtz, and those are two absolutely brilliant attackers, and Hugo Ekitike as well. And we sold Nunez and we sold Luis Diaz, and we kept Chiesa as well, which I'm happy about. But it looks like that could be endanger Chiesa's future, because Fabrizio Romano said that I can also reveal to you that Besiktas has called for Chiesa. Remember that the Turkish league's transfer window is still open. Besiktas in the last 24 to 48 hours tried to call for Chiesa to understand the situation at Liverpool. I can tell you is that Liverpool are not letting Chiesa go on loan. At the moment, negotiations are not advanced. It's not something really concrete or advanced, but they made a call also for Chiesa. Besiktas are prepared to invest money, and they could be one to watch before their deadline shots. You know, Chiesa still wasn't named in Liverpool's Champions League squad. We included Rio and Gumoa instead. And ultimately, probably Arne Slot thinks that Chiesa can contribute more in the Premier League as a substitute and in the League Cup in the first part of the season until January. And that must have hurt for Chiesa, because he loves the Champions League. He played many seasons in the Champions League with Juventus. But recently, the Italy coach, Gennaro Gattuso, recently said when he asked Chiesa to link up with the national team that Chiesa didn't feel it. That leaves questions about either he has a fitness issue or a mindset issue. I don't think it's the latter, but yeah, maybe Chiesa is not still fully fit. And I really hope that Chiesa makes it at Liverpool. He should be coming on as a substitute. But you know, with Isak, Liverpool have one more absolutely fantastic option at their disposal. But I still feel that we would leave ourselves, I mean Liverpool would leave themselves awfully short if we let Chiesa go, even on a permanent transfer. Even if Besiktas paid 15-20 million for Chiesa, which I don't think they will, that's not a transfer that I would make, because, you know, yes, we have backup for Ekitike, that's Isak. We have backup for Cody Gakpo, that's Rio and Gumoa, but he's only 17 years old. He just turned 17, which is crazy that he is now talked about as a proper backup. But if Salah goes to the Africa Cup of Nations in January, if he progresses well with Egypt, he will miss 6 Premier League games and he will miss a month of football. We can't let Chiesa go, I'm sorry, because even with Chiesa, Liverpool have like 5 attackers and a kid in Rio and Gumoa. So we have Salah, Ekitike, Gakpo, we have Isak, we have Chiesa, that's 5 attackers, and Rio and Gumoa is the 6th one. But as I said, you don't want to put too much pressure on a 17-year-old. So I think Liverpool need to keep Chiesa at least until January. Let's see how Rio and Gumoa develops and how we can hand off men's football. Rio and Gumoa played 20 minutes recently for the England under-21s. I think he got an assist as well. And Isak was called up for the Swedish national team, but the head coach Jon Dahl Tomasson, former Danish striker, he said that he would be careful managing Isak's fitness and his minutes because they don't want him to get injured. But at least hopefully Isak will get some minutes for the Swedish national team, because he hasn't played football for like 2 months or something like that, so he needs to get his sharpness up. And that's it for today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. See you later. Goodbye.